Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today we are going to look at all of the features and deliverables with work ending in February. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and if you do enjoy my content, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. So each month I like to put together a video that takes a look at all of the work kicking off as well as finishing, just to keep us all more informed as to what work is going on in the background. Now before we get to it, just because a feature on the progress tracker has work beginning or completing in a particular month does not necessarily mean it'll be released that quarter, the next quarter, or even in that year, as there could still be more work required from other teams, for example the downstream teams like audio, visual effects and so on. Or even priorities can shift and it can get pushed back until needed later. It is, however, a good guide to see what could potentially come to the PU when, but at the very least, it shows us what work is being done at what time of the year. So with that said, let us take a look at all of the deliverables and features that have work ending in the month of February. So firstly, we will begin with 2 AI improvements and advancements, although we probably won't benefit from this too much until the servers are more stable and the AI behave as they're intended to, but nonetheless, the work on AI continues. Now the first is AI landing improvements, which will enable the AI ships to land and deliver reinforcements on non-structured ground areas like planetary surfaces, where predefined landing areas or air traffic controller services are not available. Now what is great about this particular deliverable is how alongside the planetary navigation mesh, it will enable NPCs to basically travel to any location planetside and assist the player or attack the player depending on the circumstances. Hired NPCs, combat assistance, medical rescue, or even an NPC bounty or bounty hunter coming after you or trying to evade you. So the possibilities are endless to what this will unlock, and the work from the AI tech and features team on this just came to an end this month. The second AI tech feature from the same team is called Navigation Links, Ladders and Ledge Grab, and much like the previous AI tech seen on the progress tracker, like the elevators and transit, this gives the NPCs the ability to fully navigate through an environment aware of potential ladders or ledges so that they are capable of pretty much everything the player is. Now this had 28 weeks work that should have come to a close already, according to the progress tracker. Now next up we have a personal favourite of mine, the Greycat Salvage backpack. Now this says concepting, designing and implementing this variant of the Greycat Specialist backpack geared towards storing salvaged materials. So with salvaging progressing and still slated for 3/18 release, touch wood it doesn't move, this sounds like a backpack that is specifically designed to carry the scrapped material or the scraped materials from the hull of a ship, likely storing it in the backpack to be sold on, or either used directly for repair, or maybe transferred to a repair backpack, which we are yet to hear about if that is the case, to work with the repair tool. Now, we know that when it comes to salvage, we will be using the Greycat multi-tool salvage attachment and the Drake Vulture for hull scraping, but I hope that the dedicated salvaging tool will also release alongside it, so we are maybe able to remove and store more materials quicker. Either way, I am very excited to see just how salvage is going to play out, although it will be tier 0, so a very basic version of it, but as we know, it'll be just scraping a single material, and then a lot more depth and skill involved later on. So here's 2 salvage remaining on track for the end of June. So next up is another gold standard pass on a vehicle. This time it is the Greycat Ptv. Now this I am actually really interested in seeing, as the Ptv was probably one of the very first vehicles to make it in game. It was definitely the first ground vehicle to make it in game, and we had it before we had any locations beyond the hangar module. Now this is a 2-seater utility vehicle, kind of like a buggy, not really sure what its purpose is outside of being a Daredevil's joyride, jumping it over the ships in the hangar, but even so it does look quite old and dated, and I'm expecting this gold standard will be kind of night and day different, so hopefully we get to see a little sneak peek at this. Now next up we have the Hospital Surgeon, which is simply to create the outfits worn by surgeons in hospitals, beginning with Horizon General. Now, nothing to really rave about here, but as usual, just adding these little details here and there, which do add up to the overall immersion. Now, the next deliverable is called Pyro Spacescaping, and this has 57 weeks work on it from both the lighting team and the EU Sandbox 1 team. This says it is utilizing the gas cloud tech. VDB elements will be crafted to spacescape the Pyro system. So similar to what we have seen with the gas clouds found around certain space stations in Stanton, this is expanding on that and then adding them to the Pyro system. And thankfully, as this is work ending in February, that should be done by now. Now, the next feature is a ship, and it is a beast of a ship. It is the MISC Hull D. Now, this is just a 2-week sprint from the vehicle concept art team, so maybe working to bring it up to snuff on the art side of things. So I'm not expecting it means a fully flight-ready ship, although it does say that in its description, but it likely won't release anytime soon, especially as we still don't have the Hull C yet. So once the Hull C is out the door, then I expect the ships bigger than that, the Hull D and the E, will follow suit. Whatever this is involving though, it is getting the MISC Hull series closer to full release, which will be a pretty epic moment. Maybe once the cargo refactor and economy are in full swing, but we know for 317, we know that the Hull A is on its way. Now, the next deliverable is titled Outlaw Medical Outfits, and strangely enough, I was just wandering through the Grimhex clinic the other day and noticed how clean and green the medical staff scrubs were, and thought they'd kind of look out of place. So this is designing and implementing the surgical apron for the Outlaw medics, which I presume will not just be for Grimhex, but other clinics and hospitals may be found within the Pyro system as well. The next deliverable to finish in February is Reputation version 2, which is an upgrade to the Reputation system that allows Reputation to drive AI hostility. Now, after seeing the UI icons for future Reputation gates on Inside Star Citizen recently, I am very excited to see these evolve this year, and alongside this, having NPCs reacting to you dependable on your reputation with each particular group, things will begin to feel a lot more fleshed out. Now, this should already be complete by now according to the tracker, so let us hope that we will begin to see this roll out ASAP, but more importantly that they can get some stability with the servers so that they're not degrading to like 2 FPS and the AI are just acting all crazy. Okay, so rivers and basins are next, and as we heard from Jared, the chap who has been working on them will be making an appearance on Inside Star Citizen in the next few weeks. So it's a good sign that we are getting close to these being implemented onto the planets. I personally feel that this will just add another level of immersion to the planets and also hold potential for future gameplay. Not to mention, once rivers and basins are done and dusted, they will then be applying that technology and moving on to roads. So good to see that the work for rivers and basins come to a close in February, and I'm really looking forward to that Inside Star Citizen episode. Now, the next deliverable is called Security Behavior, and it encompasses all tasks for NPC security officer behaviors. This is both for Squadron 42 and the PU. Not really much to say about this, as I'm not too sure what behavior is required for an officer, but I'm sure we will see this sooner or later. Now, this next feature is one that I think we saw on the roadmap release view for 315 or 316 a little while ago. It is called Shops and Patrons, and it says it is vastly expanding the interactive usables needed for an assortment of shops and patrons, populating dozens of shops with vendor behaviors previously seen with the bartender. That will include like the coffee stand, pizza bars, and kiosks. Now, we know of the coffee vendor coming in 317, but I do wonder if these others like the pizza bar will get that functionality at the same time, or whether they're now deciding to roll it out one at a time, but I guess we will see. I'm assuming it's 317 for the coffee vendor, and then later patches for the rest. Next, we have vending machine utilization, and this is for both Squadron 42 and the PU, and this enables AI to use vending machines to purchase food and drink. And if you have read the latest monthly report or watched my video on it, thank you if so, you will have read about the work going on to have NPCs capable of using vending machines and arcade machines. And hopefully once the AI can use them, then players will be able to soon after. As of course, vending machines will be very useful when you're in a hurry and you've forgotten to go to get a snack somewhere. But I think it would be very cool if, when we're using arcade machines in particular, we can set high scores and then see if people can try and beat them. That would be kind of fun. Anyway, moving on. This next deliverable is another personal favourite of mine. Not that it'll add too much in way of gameplay, but it does a lot for immersion, and it is called Weapon Handling Tier 2. Now this introduces character animations while interacting with and customizing FPS weapons, with the aim, they say, to add a tactile look and feel to weapon handling. Now again, not too much for gameplay here, but I love the FPS weapons that we have, and I am really looking forward to this big FPS weapon audit, and when that will be completed. I will then be putting myself and my org through some rigorous weapon testing and training drills just to learn all the FPS weapons ins and outs, and then to have my character or any character physically reaching out and removing a silencer or attaching a sight will just look very cool. So one of the biggest features here, for me anyway, which we have spoken about recently in the past, is the map and radar rework, which as we know is an overhaul to the underlying system and associated UI for the Starmap, radar, local area map, and minimap. Now, CIG know how abysmal the current Starmap is, in both terms of usability and functionality, so I'm desperately hoping that we get to see this newly updated Starmap and all this other work to the radar, the local map, the minimap, in an upcoming Inside Star Citizen very soon, as I can't imagine they would want to waste any time in getting this in game. And it was actually only yesterday, the day before, that we were making our way through caves looking for a Pico cave, just thinking how useful a local area map or a mini-map would be to help map out the location so we don't get lost. The Starmap has been one of the biggest issues with the PU for a while, and for all the many new players coming into the game, especially during free flies, trying to figure out the map and how it works and how to navigate anywhere must be an absolute nightmare. And even as a veteran player, it doesn't get any better and it's still just as annoying and difficult. So yeah, 45 weeks work on this from the UI features and UI tech teams that should have already been done. And I'm betting very shortly we will get to see the changes on Inside Star Citizen, maybe a Q&A on Star Citizen Live or Spectrum in the upcoming weeks. And I pray for a 3.17, 3.18 release, but we will see. Nothing has been said about 3.17 yet. Now we have a single piece of unannounced tech on the progress tracker, which is from the game services team, which could mean something pretty special as they have chosen this to be a surprise. And this had 23 weeks work that looks to have completed early in February, so I'm really intrigued to see what this is. Put your guesses in the comments if you dare. I don't dare, so I'm not going to say anything. Now there is also a single unannounced vehicle ending in February, whose 14 weeks work came to a close early this month. Now the work was from the vehicle concept art team, so I'm expecting either a new concept sale for 3.17 or maybe for Fleet Week, not a straight to flyable ship. Again, stick your guesses below. Okay, so moving on to tech specific deliverables. The first one is Entity Stow and Destroy. And this should have come to a close by now. This is the moving of an item into an inventory, like a ship loaded with cargo, just being stowed. It will then store that ship and its cargo, with this work removing items from the replication layer, moving its persistent data into an inventory managed by the entity graph. So some great work towards getting things persisting and stored into the entity graph, which is all necessary for the static server meshing, as mentioned in one of my previous videos. Next, we have FS Tech Anim asset integration, which I'm pretty sure we have seen extended on the progress tracker quite a few times now, but this says it is a game dev integration of .skin and .dna files with addition of LOD optimization and fixes. Not sure what this is exactly. It does sound like it's to do with the character heads. Maybe it's to do with this new character creation they've done for Squadron and what we're going to see with 3.17 as well, but it had 41 weeks work that came to an end in early February. The hybrid service is next, which is moving the network code's replication layer out of the dedicated server and into a standalone service. Now this service is called the hybrid layer, as later versions of server meshing will split into component services handling different aspects of this replication layer's functionality. The first version of server meshing will use this hybrid service to manage client and server streaming, replication of networked state between clients and servers, and persisting state changes to the entity graph. So again, another big piece of tech that came to an end mid to late February. Next is Maya loadouts from P4K, and this encompasses tasks related to querying skin files and geometry from P4K and rebuilding them inside Maya on an existing Maya animation rig. Not sure what this does, but if I was to have a general guess, it sounds like improvements to help speed up the workflow. And the final tech deliverable is called Zone Handling, which is implementing backend solutions to help designers easily define which zone an object should be spawned in to be merged into all existing tools and workflows, with an initial focus on cinematic tools. Right, to finish with, we have some Squadron 42 specific deliverables. Firstly, campaign chapters 2 and 3 have work from the Squadron 42 level design 3 social team coming to an end this month, with Chapter 17 having work from the gameplay story team, Squadron 42 level design 1 FPS team, and the Squadron 42 level design 2 flight team also coming to an end. Each of these deliverables description reads, designing, implementing and iterating on each chapter of the Squadron 42's single player campaign, with the rest of the chapters listed all looking like their work from the various teams finish at the end of March. Quite interesting. So next we have the enemy ships deliverable, which is construction and implementation of approved concepts for various enemy ships. Now I'm not entirely sure which ships these are. I don't think it's referring to the Vanduul ships, so it could mean the OMC pirate group, but we will see. This had 60 weeks work that kicked off at the beginning of January and should be finishing off right about now. The female player head should have completed its work too, which is completing a modeling and texture polish for the female player head, which states that the asset will now be sent to Tech Animation for a rigging update. So for all of you who are wanting to play through the Squadron 42 campaign with a female character, you will be able to do so. Next up we have the Acedo Station, which we saw in depth during a briefing room episode, and it is a large Comore station in a state of decommissioning. And this has 7 teams working on it. That should be done by now, but I would love another tour of it. Hopefully once the briefing room series start up again, we may see the finished version of this Acedo Comore. And finally, we have quite a short 4 weeks work deliverable that was finished earlier this month. It is the military multi-tool, which is the UEE military version of the multi-tool that we use in the verse. Not sure what is different to the multi-tool that we have in the PU compared to the Squadron 42 one, but do let me know in the comments what you think the differences could be, beyond a different skin of course. So, quite a lot of amazing features really coming to a close this month, in particular AI, rivers, and the Starmap and Radar Rework as well. I really hope that we get to see this new improved Starmap soon on Inside Star Citizen and get it into the PU as quick as possible, as it is desperately needed. Great to see a lot of work for static server meshing completing this month, and next month more importantly as well. But that is it for this video. As always, I will continue to run through all of the work, both starting and finishing in each month, with March being next month. But with that said, if you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Feel free to come and follow me over at twitch.tv/supermacbrother. You are all more than welcome. We're having a great time just hanging out and chatting about the game over there. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and if you would like to be notified when my videos go live, just tick that little notification bell. Again, huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for the support, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.